Hey Gundam Maniacs, welcome to another episode of Gundam Explained. Yeah, as of recording this, we're actually getting close to Christmas, so I figured why not jump into some UC lore that has to deal with that time period. I've looked at War in the Pocket, Endless Waltz, but actually it's the Battle of Solomon that takes place on Christmas Eve, so it'd be very interesting to dive into that pivotal moment in the One-Year War and actually how it affects future UC. But before we get started, if you haven't, please subscribe, and as you're watching this video and think it's cool, give it a like. Also check the links in the description with ways you can support the channel and get some pretty cool perks, but also we have a Discord channel that's pretty badass. We talk Gundam lore, all that crazy stuff, but let's get started. Alright, so Solomon. You might be familiar with it from the original 0079. There's a little picture of it. It's like a star-shaped asteroid base. I think it has that shape because of how long it's been mined, but also the interior has been used as a base for actually both the Principality of Zeon and Earth Federation. Later, it's renamed Confedo or Campe Island. I think that has to do with the type of candy, but it's actually using the Portuguese term for that. And to kind of get an idea of where it's at, I'm using the YouTube channel Gen Zero. They were playing some encounters in space. So you got this cool map here, kind of showing like here's Earth, side 5, we got Solomon moving up to Abawaku, side 3. So you can kind of see it's almost like a video game in itself where the Earth Federation has to go and take out the final boss. But yeah, Solomon will be the subject of this video. Following Zeon's defeat at the battles of Odessa and Jaburo, the space-bound nation opted to pull their forces from Earth with the intent of shoring up their resources and manpower, as the Earth Federation forces had been able to easily overwhelm and retake land they lost. However, Earth Federation decided to push the offensive, realizing Zeon was now hurting. So the battle took place on December 24th, UC 0079, emerging from the debris field of Side 4, the White Base Columbus, and various Salamis-class ships made their attack. The public-class ships prevented Solomon from attacking from the safety of their base by launching missiles armed with beam-reflected gas. As Dazzle ordered the attack of the MSO-6, of their MSO-6 Zaku-2 and the MSO-9R Rikdom. So the Zaku-2 and the Rikdom are like the main, I guess, mass-produced mobile suits for this. The Federation forces launched their brand new RGM-79GM and RB-79 Ball. So this is when we get to a point where the Earth Federation is able to mass produce their own mobile suits. Because first they just had the prototypes, they had that Project V, so that's where they had the gun tank, the gun cannon, and the RX-78-2, but now they have that GM mass produced. With the White Base launching the RX-78-2 Gundam, both RX-77-2 gun cannons, and both FF-X7 boost core, or BST, core boosters. Actually, let's look at that for a second. Okay, yeah, so this is the kind of evolution of the typical core booster that we see that's used in like the RX-78-2 and the gun tank. But yeah, it looks like this FF-X7 BST core booster is kind of more the fully realized version. We see a less red color scheme used in 08th MS Team. The second gun cannon is replaced with the RX-75 gun tank and the core boosters with the G-Fighter in the TV version of the events. And that's true. The G-Fighter, pretty cool looking ship. It was, when they made the movie trilogy, they kind of changed that G-Fighter aspect, because originally it was made to be more toy-like, although I still think it's pretty cool. But yeah, they changed it to be a little more realistic for the movie versions. Cautious of what may happen, Dazzle ordered all women, including his wife, Zenazabi, and their children, Minerva, and their child, Minerva Laozabi, to escape craft. So Minerva, so this is the start of, Minerva. She has a wild arc that occurs within the UC timeline. From the debris of Side 1, the main TNM fleet was busy setting up a massive series of mirrors, something that was just caught by Solomon forces. Dazzle ordered the Guazan and a group of Musai-class vessels to deal with the fleet, as he was asked to request help from the 7th Division. Dazzle rejected it, not wanting to be mocked for asking help from Caecilia's fleets. So yeah, he didn't even want help, which is very interesting. I mean, he seems like a good guy, wanting to make sure people escaped that could, and he was willing to hold the line, but not get help from his sister. So we're already seeing that infighting that happens within the Zabi family that's really the downfall. Before the Zeon fleet could reach the Tiananmen forces, the mirrors were set up, activating the Federation's new weapon, the Solar Flare System. So the Solar Flare System, blasting Solomon's space gate. With the base defenses weakened, Amuro was able to land the Gundam on Solomon, leading to the other Federation ships launching their complements of GM and Ball units. With this, Dazzle ordered Zena and Minerva to be evacuated to Granada, and all remaining Zaku, Rikdom, and Gattle units launched as he went to board the Big Zam. So what's a Gattle unit? Let's look at that. Gattle. So that's something not really talked about much in UC. It's a space fighter bomber that appears in Mobile Suit Gundam. So a Gattle. I guess is multiple Gattles a Geetle? Okay, but yeah, the Big Zam. So at the same time, various Zeon forces scrambled to attempt to rescue Solomon for the Federation. So this is when we see the Big Zam in action. This is kind of that mid-boss fight, I guess, before the end of the one-year war with Amuro. And actually, there's a really cool battle of it in that game, Encounters in Space. As the Federation forces pushed further in, they found themselves confronting the Big Zam. Having underestimated its power, the large mobile armor began wiping out EFF mobile suits with its arsenal of weaponry. With most of their fleet destroyed or disabled, Dazzle ordered the remaining ships to charge at the Federation forces, while he himself led the remaining Zaku and Rickdom forces in the Big Zam. Learning of the launching forces, the Tiananmen fleet used what was left of the solar flare system to further destroy the Solomon forces. Let's look at that solar flare system. So here's the picture of the solar flare system. You might be thinking, what am I looking at? It's a bunch of mirrors. Actually, very cool idea for a weapon and technology to be used during that time frame when they created this. I guess there's some other pictures here showing kind of the development of it. Yeah, there's all these mirrors that are reflecting light. Because the idea is, by this time, the nuclear weapons were supposed to be banned, although we saw what happened in 0083. That's almost like redemption for Enovelgato, who is a big part of the Battle of Solomon. Actually, he's known as the Nightmare of Solomon, and we'll get to that. So the solar system, now, they're not saying solar flare system. Okay, so it's either solar system or solar flare system. It seems to have multiple names. Was an anti-asteroid fortress weapon developed by the Earth Federation forces following the Antarctic Treaty, which banned the use of nuclear weapons. Its principle was simple, reflecting concentrated sunlight onto a target using a massive array of mirrors. Essentially, it was a gigantic solar furnace. So, yeah, this was the idea the Federation wanted to use to kind of wipe out all they could of the Solomon base. But, I mean, I guess that's what they had to do. Okay, realizing the battle was lost, Dazzle ordered the Big Zam controls to himself and to launch flares to order their fleets to retreat. So, again, Dazzle it's almost like he's holding the line. He knows he's going to be taking out, and he's wanting his troops to retreat. If you watch The Origin, where they have more background information on Dazzle, you can see how he seemed to be sort of a sympathetic man, compassionate man. This probably shortly after the birth of his daughter, kind of witnessing that innocent life, and then it kind of changing his brain chemistry, making him think, wow, people are dying for no reason out of this. Almost maybe a self-sacrifice, knowing that he got himself into something that he maybe regrets, but thought maybe if he could hold the line at least without getting Cassilia involved, maybe that was his angle. He just didn't want to get his sister involved. It's kind of an interesting take on Dazzle. I wonder what you guys think. So with the Big Zam, Dazzle planned to take down as many Federation ships and mobile suits as he could before he fell. With its incredible power and defenses, the Big Zam ran roughshod over the Federation forces. Realizing that what needed to be done, Slayer took his core booster and flew into the Big Zam, heavily damaging it. In the TV version, the G-Fighter and the Gundam formed G-Armor, Slayer sacrificing his life to allow Gundam to blast the Big Zam from underneath. Enraged, Amuro flew up and stabbed the head of the Big Zam with his beam saber. Defiant to the end, Dazzle stepped out of the Big Zam and began firing a machine gun at the Gundam before the Big Zam exploded, killing Dazzle. Amuro hallucinated a strange demon forming from Dazzle, signifying his persona. With the destruction of the Big Zam and the death of Dazzle, the Battle of Solomon was over. So this is an interesting part in the One-Year War too, or of the kind of original Mobile Suit Gundam storyline, because we're kind of seeing what could potentially be effects of a new type, where Amuro is seeing the intention, seeing it manifested through the brainwaves as sort of a demon. Now, it could be that the consciousness of Amuro himself, that a demon signifies as sort of that danger and that alert. So, again, I would assume that is supposed to be effect of being a new type. So with the battle over, Solomon was captured and used as Federation staging grounds for the Battle of Abawaku, which will be next. That might be the New Year's video where we get into the Battle of Abawaku. It's like the final stand. During this fight, Enovelgato earned his title of Nightmare of Solomon due to his ferocity in piloting the MS-09RS Rickdom Enovelgato Custom. When Solomon fell, he vowed to return and get revenge, something he would do 3 years later. And Enovelgato, we all know him, awesome antagonist in 0083, very Interesting that he went to go steal a nuclear weapon from the Earth Federation forces following the 1 Year War, and he used it against the Earth Federation forces. And that is very interesting because the Earth Federation forces weren't supposed to have a nuclear weapon. They used that solar system, the solar flare system, in the Battle of Solomon because they couldn't use nuclear weapons. And so the fact that he stole it, used it against him, is almost like a redemption arc for the character himself. But those events is what led to then the formation of the Titans, right? It was the act of Enevel Gato not being taken out during the Battle of Solomon, but seeing the destruction caused by that solar system made him vow revenge, then finds out Federation has nukes and they shouldn't, steals the nukes, use it against them. This is what then establishes the support that the Titans should be formed, where they're just going all out with crazy weaponry to be able to destroy any Xeon remnants. So it's a very interesting through line from the 1 Year War to the formation of the Titans. And you know what? UC Engage, a game, unfortunately, that has not been translated for the United States, or actually in English, but hasn't been released to the West, has some awesome cartoons that back up kind of the battle that Enevel Gato went through, what gave him the name Nightmare of Solomon. You could check that out on YouTube. I'll have a link below. Right, and to get the idea of the kind of the weapons, you know, I like to think of it as the X-Wing and Y-Wing versus the TIE Fighter, the TIE Interceptor. So what we got here is the MS-09R Rick Dom is kind of the newer Xeon weapon that's in use. It's supposed to be even better than a GM. And then we have the RGM-79 GM. So this is supposed to be like the mass-produced Gundam. And yeah, this is what they've had weeks prior. They had this rolled out, and they had some variants too. There's some what I would call, maybe not necessarily retconning, but I guess revision to history, where there's like a command space type that saw some limited use, which is really cool. Here's the RB-79 Ball, which, you know, also this is an effective unit, as crazy as it seems. At its size, it makes it a harder target, but it has some firepower on there. Even in 0083, actually, no, it was, the MS team, you could see Shiro Amada use it to great effect. So, yeah, you can't discount the ball. All right, and here's the MS-09RS Rick Dom Enevel Gato custom. The videos are awesome, showing him. I think Gieren's Greed also has a video, the animation showing this mobile suit in action, just taking out Earth Federation ships. Very cool. And then here's another one that I think shows up in some video game animation during the Battle of Solomon. I hope I'm not wrong on that. I've been trying to look up some more details on that, but this is just kind of a variation of the RGM-79. This is just the GM command space type. There actually weren't a lot deployed because by this time they barely got the GM out. So there wasn't too many variants that were already out, but one of them is this GM command space type that was actually featured in 0080 War in the Pocket. And I really do think the idea is, from what we learned before my video about how Sunrise Retcon Gundam, when 0080 came out, they were using redesigns of the original mobile suits, but they decided to go back and make those just variations of suits. So I think, though, that this command space type just looks sick. All right, and there you have it, the Battle of Solomon, pivotal moment in 0079. Check that out if you haven't. Even play the game Encounters in Space to be able to get into the action and see some of the side stories of it. And then really that just gives a lot more background information for 0083, for what Enevel Gato was going through, where that revenge arc comes into play, leads to the formation of the Titans and the events that occur in Zeta Gundam. So very cool. Do you have any other cool trivia or notes, or maybe even corrections about the Battle of Solomon? Yeah, post them below in the comments. I'm very interested, because this is really cool. And yeah, again, it's that little Christmas battle that occurs in UC 0079. So I guess Merry Christmas for those that celebrate, and Happy Holidays. But anyway, thanks for watching. We'll talk later.